Now that we've seen how to create objects, and specifically how we can use a constructor method on those objects, I think it's time for us to now talk about how to copy objects. We call that cloning. I'm going to go to TextMate, I'll open up a new window, and let's just save this as cloning.php, and we'll go ahead and start our PHP tags. Now in our earlier discussion about references, I noted that all objects use reference assignment by default. So for example, if we have a class called beverage, which just has one attribute, name, then we can create a new beverage, assign a value to name. Then if we say b equals a, and we change the value of b's attribute name, it will also change the value of a's name because it's a reference. Let's just try that to just make sure we remember that. I'm going to open up Firefox, and we're going to look up cloning. T. So you'll see coffee disappeared. T became the new value for a because their reference is pointing at the same object. But what about when you don't want to be a reference? What about when you want to actually make a copy of it? How do you actually copy that object over? And the way that we do that is by using clone. So clone A will then make a copy of it. So now when I say C name equals orange juice, then echo back the name, we can see what that's going to return for us. I'm going to need a BR tag in here. All right, let's try it now. Come back over here. You'll see that A is still equal to T. The value of that didn't change. And if we want to just check it, we can also just ask what the value of C is. And I'll just move this BR tag down here again. So there we go. Now you can tell that changing the name of C did change it because it was a copy, but it did not have any effect on A because it's no longer a reference. For B, that wasn't true. They were references to the same thing. I think that should be self-explanatory enough. The other important thing about cloning and using that clone is if you'll remember, we had the construct keyword. So here's a real simple construct method that will get called automatically. Whatever housekeeping is done in that construct method is not done when we clone it. It's only when we create a new one, not when we copy it. Instead, we have a clone method, __ clone. So whenever this object is cloned, then do this next step. And let's just try this with this same beverage and just see what happens. Let's make sure I've got some BR tags. I do. So the first time that we create the object and we assign it to A, we get this new beverage was created. Then when we make a reference with B, nothing happens because it's just a reference. It's not until we get down here and we actually make a clone that that clone method gets called. So that automatic clone method is going to work just like a constructor, and it's going to be your opportunity to do the same kind of housekeeping whenever you clone an object. So now that we know how to make both references to objects and how to clone objects, in the next movie, let's talk about how we can compare objects to be able to tell whether or not it's a reference or a copy. I'm going to go to TextMate, I'll open up a new window, and let's just save this as cloning.php, and we'll go ahead and start our PHP tags.